Hi everyone. Today is the 26th of April 2022. I've been invited to meet a young, very successful businesswoman who at the prime of her life has decided that she wants to write a book, and she wanted me to come and give her some tips and advice on how I went about writing a bestseller. This meeting should be a very interesting episode number 4, and you will see that writing a bestseller is not an easy thing, particularly when you start from rock bottom with nothing to your advantage. I don't know how I did it, but I've done it. So let's now make our way to the front door to meet Ellie in her home.
Ellis, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Come in.
It's my pleasure to come here.
Wow, I've waited so long to meet you. Well, thank you very much for coming to my home this morning, Patrick. It's a real treat to have you here. As you know, I've got some questions that I'd like to ask you today. But firstly, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about me, because I know hopefully an awful lot about you, which I'm very impressed about, by the way. My background is sales, predominantly sales. I've been a regional manager for Redeployment for many years. I then went on to open my own recruitment agency. I then went on to open a dog grooming salon in the midst of recession back in 2008, 2009, which is still going strong now, touch wood. And I've also opened about 5 years ago a beauty salon, which again is doing really well, but I'm in a position now where I'm toying with the idea of writing my own book. I was so impressed by your book, Who Dare Sells. I thought perhaps that would be something that I'd like to do. So I'd love the opportunity to ask you some questions today to see whether perhaps that's the right thing for me to do or not. So thank you again for coming to see me today. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, Ellie, for me to be here. And moreover, the fact that you come from a sales background, and I've just realized that we both have the same company that we work for, but
yes,
at different times. I mean, when I originally started, I was top salesman for Pitney Bowes, and you also
Pitney Bowes.
Pitney Bowes,
yeah,
business equipment, yeah.
That must have been
fantastic.
Probably 97, 99, something like that.
My gosh, I was about 20 years before that, right? So anyway, as far as training goes, I can say that I've had the best training from not just Pitney Bowes, many other companies.
Yeah.
But that's not the issue. The issue is for you to write your book.
Yeah.
And I can speak to you from first-hand experience about this subject.
Yeah.
And why I wrote it. Firstly, I've got to turn back the clock when I first landed in this country, from a tropical country into a new environment like the UK. At the time, when I landed here, Heathrow Airport was a small building, and I came on on a BOAC, British Overseas Airways Corporation VC10. I landed here. The first thing I had to get to know is how to walk in the snow, and
what were you wearing? Can you remember what you were wearing?
Well, I came not properly.
You weren't prepared.
Dressed. Yeah. So it was freezing, and I took a few steps, and I tumbled and fell. And this Englishman walked past me and said, "Did you enjoy your trip?" Yeah. So anyway, so this was the starting point, and one of the things that motivated me to write this book was, firstly, I come from an academic family of medical doctors, and my ancestors have written books. Even though I didn't fall into the medical profession, I had my own ways of dealing with life. And
so your family come from a medical background. They're all professionals. Right. Okay. That was you decided that wasn't for you?
That was not for me. And in my previous episodes, I've covered that, and there's more to come about all that. But anyway, fact of the matter is, because I came from a medical family background who are into intellectual issues, even though I branched off in a different direction, I had to show my family that I too can excel in other areas outside the medical profession.
Right.
So that was the motivation for me to write.
Okay.
And for me, I had to learn everything from scratch. What you see now is the story of from zero to hero, right?
So with that in mind, the first question I had was why you felt you wanted to write the book. So I suppose your answer there has given me an understanding of your motivation behind wanting to write it.
Well, as I said,
how did you go about doing it? How did you actually execute that from an idea to a bestseller?
This is the story of story of success, learning the ropes. In other words, I built the plane and flew it at the same time.
Yeah.
I went down the rabbit hole. I didn't know how to start, but I just went on, and there's something guiding me, right? It was something outside my normal ways of living. So there was a very strong self-motivation, but among so many different obstacles, right?
What were the obstacles that you faced?
Firstly, remember, there's an old saying. Now let's talk about the book itself.
Yep.
There's an old saying, and my wife always said, paper never refuses ink. Anybody can write something on a paper, but making it a bestseller is a different ball game altogether.
Yeah.
Right? The ink is black, the paper is white. Together we learn to read and write. Right?
Wonderful.
So everyone dreams about writing a book. Now, when you come to that point, you got to decide whether you want to write this book for vanity reasons, or is it to make money?
What were your reasons?
My reasons was initially vanity.
That motivated you?
I was not motivated by making money out of it, because I had to show my family that even though I was, you want to use the word black sheep, the brown guy, the black sheep in the family, right? That
Doing things differently.
doing things differently.
Yeah.
But whatever I do, I will be the best,
Yeah.
right? So I had to prove that point. So this was a labor of love. So it starts now collating information. I was working for different companies, you name it, I've done it.
So did they all have different sales training approaches?
Well, training and by observing other
Right.
people
Yeah.
and learning from others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's two types. One you can go to university and sit down and follow lectures, and then you regurgitate that knowledge in the formal sense, where questions are given and you answer them. But that's academic know-how. Mine was practical know-how with an academic bias.
Yep.
That came subsequently. Right. So now we get on to the task of firstly getting a title for the book.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you look at the title of this book, Who Dares Sells,
Where did you come up with the idea?
It's akin to the slogan that is used for the SAS, who dares wins.
Yeah.
Right. But it's what the SAS do. They are masters at eliminating the enemy. Right. They're all about killing. That's not for me. They are masters at that. I also have got a daring sense. You could call me a master of living. They're a master of killing. I'm a master of living. And I've lived life to the best of my ability. Right?
Yeah.
But it also has a daring component to it. Right from the time that I was in the Merchant Navy, everything I did was new. Right? Going down the rabbit hole, not knowing what's coming up, and dealing with it as we go. So in other words, the self-motivation was there.
Yeah.
What is motivation? Motivation is if somebody can't do a job, you can go and motivate him to do it. But when you're self-motivated, come hell, heaven or high water, you get on and do the job. I don't care how you do it, right? But it must be done. The old Chinese saying, it doesn't matter if the cat is black or white as long as it catches mice.
Right.
You get my point?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. So I had fixed in my mind, I'm going to write a book. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And that's where all the skill comes in. Yeah. So firstly, I had to decide on what the title of the book was. So this daring component in life was there, right? And being in the front line in those days and having been through the mill in terms of all types of situations, right? Some favorable, some very unfavorable. You propel yourself through and you become toughened,
Yeah.
right? To be able to take the blows, yeah, and if necessary, return it back. So, in other words, I would like to put it this way: I've got a face that smiles, but I also got teeth that bite, right? I've got a face that smiles, but also teeth that bite. But you don't use your teeth to bite. First, you always try the soft approach, the gentle approach, right? But if situations become more this thing, like for example, if you ask a carpenter to come and do a job for you, right, or a builder to come and do a job for you, he's got a whole range of hammers. There's a sledgehammer, there's a claw hammer, there's a lump hammer, there's a pin hammer, there's a mallet. You don't use a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Sledgehammer has got got its time to be used, right? Equally, you can't, a tough job, you can't use a pin hammer.
Yeah.
So different strokes for different folks, right? So now I'm writing these manuscripts.
So Who Dare Sells, the title, you got from the SAS?
Not from the SAS. It's analogous to the
Right,
SAS.
okay.
But I had a daring component in my life.
Yes.
You know, when I climbed the
Yes.
mast and all these other episodes which I've gone through. So I knew that daring is part of progress for me. In other words, active as opposed to being passive.
How many options did you have for the title? Were there any others that you disregarded before you came up with this one?
I picked this title because it's part of my personality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can run with the hare, but I also can hunt with the hound. So these are the skills that you have, which, I mean, if you go to university, you won't have these things. Like, for example, as I said, anybody can write a book, but to make it a bestseller is a different ball game. Now, I'm going to tell you a few things about this book. Firstly, it's a 777-page tome.
Sit down. Sit
Right?
down. Sit down.
It's it's like a brick.
Yeah.
You know, and by the time you read it, this covers the A to Z of how to succeed in business and in life,
Yeah.
right? And as you can see, one of the diagrams here is selling sand to the Arabs. Yeah, selling ice cubes to Eskimos. Yeah, and in fact, one of the things that the BBC did was they arranged an interview with the Icelandic ambassador, and my task was to sell him British ice cubes, which I did. And here to prove that point, you can see some of the press cuttings which I've got. This is the half page which I got in the Evening Standard.
Wonderful.
Sale of the Millennium. I've got plenty of. He Who Dares. This is when I trained the airlines. It's all here. Something to sing about. I want to show you going for a song and dance. Read this, what BBC Radio Kent said.
Okay. Wow. Thanking you for just a line to thank you for coming to our studios today as our guest and making the interview such an enjoyable experience. The stories which you brought with you and the vast amount of experience which you have and you were kind enough to share were much appreciated by our audience. You'll be pleased to hear, no doubt, that following your appearance we've had several phone calls regarding your excellent book, Who Dare Sells.
Well, that's
Fabulous.
just the BBC.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, these are my own self-created responses,
Yeah.
right? So writing the book is one thing, but making it a bestseller. As I started off as a vanity publishing event, and subsequently it turned into a business making event. I never had that idea initially. I wanted to, this was a gift to my mother, who I was her blue-eyed boy, right? In the sense that even though I didn't follow the paternal tradition,
Yeah.
the shepherd
important,
always goes after the
Yeah.
lost sheep,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So from that point of view, she this was a gift to her, right? And it was a labor of love. And the other person that played a very prominent part in me writing this book was my good wife, because at the time the computers were just just invented. I was writing the manuscripts by hand, and she was inputting them on the Amstrad computer with the floppy disk. You remember the
Wow.
time? Yeah. And
That sounds so time consuming.
I was doing 3 jobs at a time. I was earning the money and putting it towards this, earning the money and putting it. We had to buy computers and all this sort of stuff. So it was a labor of love, and I didn't know where it was ending. Now, the other thing I want to say to you is, when I had my company, I had, here you can see the lion logo.
Yep.
Yeah. Why did I put the lion as my logo? My company, lion is a symbol of strength,
Yeah.
right? Lion is the king of the jungle, right? So, and even on the Sri Lankan flag, we have the lion with the sword, isn't it? So this, and lions could never be led by donkeys. Remember that. Lions could never be led by donkeys. So I had a very strong belief in myself, right? And that's the self-motivation that writing, not knowing, how it will be interpreted by the public, but I wrote from the heart. Whatever I wrote was honest and to the point. In fact, in this title, I've offered £1,000 to anyone who could prove to me that they've got a better system. I've written it there. It's printed there.
Wow.
And that was going over 20 years ago. So this has stood the test of time. There are a lot of people who write self-improvement books.
Is that how
But
you would
it's
describe it, as a self-improvement?
It's a self-improvement book, and it's a very big mountain to climb. Self-improvement.
Yeah.
Right. So when I sit here and give you advice, I have been there, seen it, and done it. Now, when I first wrote this book, you want to know how did I sell this to HarperCollins, right? The world's
Well, that was one of my questions. The
Yes.
next question
Yeah.
was, how did you fix the price? What made you decide on the cost that you were going to charge for the book?
Yeah.
And the second thing was, how did you actually execute selling the book?
yeah.
There's one thing writing it,
Yeah.
but how are you going to get somebody to buy it from you?
That's the point. Now, the very, very pertinent, interesting questions. I fixed the price based on the time that I had spent 12 years, right, writing it, the equipment that we had to buy,
Yeah.
right, the time that I spent to. There are so many other experts that I interviewed from all different disciplines, and all these things cost money.
So in a way, I guess you
I was spending money.
charged back for your time.
I fixed a price,
Yeah.
£20, self-published title, nobody to help me. I employed the editor of a newspaper to edit it for me. I got another proofreader to do the proofreading. I had an illustrator to do the illustrations.
Gosh.
Then I had a printing company to do the printing. And the initial print run was for 2,000 copies. Now, how did I get this into the bookshops? I've sold it.
I think. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I think a really valid point to make is that when you went about publishing your own book, this was way before the internet.
Absolutely.
So all negotiations with publishers, etc., were all face to face, over the telephone, in writing.
Absolutely.
Which nowadays seems so surreal to us, but actually that's a lot harder to
Yes.
go and find those people to do things now before the internet.
Yes. My first order, everything about this book I've done myself.
Yeah.
I went and I've sold it into Foyles. My first order came from Foyles,
That must
the
have
world's,
felt amazing.
world's biggest independent bookseller.
Yeah,
Now, how did I get it into Foyles?
exactly my
Now.
question.
So I published this book now. My initial print run was for 2,000 copies,
Okay.
right?
So let me just set the scene. You now are, you now have 2,000 copies of Who Dare Sells
At £20 a copy.
£20 a copy at your home,
Yes,
and you're sitting there, and then what do you do?
right. Now I've got to get this into the bookshops,
Yep.
right? So I didn't know how to do it. I'm not a big publishing company, it's self-published title. So what I do is I go to Charing Cross Road and go into Foyles with a copy.
You just walk in,
Just walked in,
no
yes.
appointment.
No appointment. I'm going to tell you how I did it.
Fabulous.
This is a very important part of the success story of this book. My first order came from Foyles. So this is the daring part of the title. So I walk into the ground floor and ask one of the receptionists there, I'm the sales assistant, where the general manager's office, right?
Yep.
They said, I think it's on the 6th or 7th floor. And there's a lift there. Now, by the way, I had a promotion girl. I'm into promotions. I had my Who Dare Sells t-shirts. I've got a song titled Who Dare Sells, which I wrote, and I got the lead singer from Cats musical. You know Cats, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats. The lead singer Gary, he did the vocals for me, and a top arranger producer Matthew did the background music. That's not the broadcast standards. That cost me nearly £2,000 to £3,000 to produce just that song.
So tell me what happened when you walked into the reception
So
area.
I walk in with this. I had a promotion girl with me in the Who Dare Sells t-shirt, right?
Was that your wife?
No, promotion girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wife is, wife at that time was, she was
Relaxing.
relaxing, what? Relaxing on the face of it, but I used to get hell when I come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, I walked in to Foyles with this promotion girl wearing a t-shirt. I had my song.
Yep.
I took this title here, and this sales assistant, the ground floor, said he's John Crookshanks. He's the general manager. He's on the 6th or 7th floor.
Yeah.
So I take the lift and go up there with this promotion girl. So the his secretary, I tap on the door and I tell her, this is what I told her. Will you tell Mr. Crookshank that Patrick Ellis is here to see him? So she didn't know whether I had a pre-arranged appointment those days. So she goes and taps on his door. I don't know who Patrick Ellis is, right? So
Fabulous.
This is all surprise tactics.
Yep.
Right. So then I managed to. He wanted to see me. I said, "Excuse me, sir. I don't know how to get this book in. This is which has taken me 12 years to research and write. Right. I'd like to give you a sample copy. If you like it, then these are my contact. I also left him a cassette, and I left it, said a prayer, and went back. 2 days later, an order comes for 50 copies.
Oh,
at
fabulous.
£20. And not only that, he ordered the sales staff to give the display cabinet on Charing Cross Road, where other publishers pay a fortune to get free of charge.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's fabulous.
Well
done.
I'm not finished.
Oh my
But
goodness.
to actually get a book into foils, if you go there early morning, there are publishing companies who send their sales staff with titles, and you got to go to the basement there. There are book buyers there, and they bring their sandwiches around there, all queuing to try and see the buyers to get an order. I went straight to the general manager, right? And then I was interviewed on LBC radio. The sales reps there, they were shocked to see this title in the front cabinet. They went and from HarperCollins, they went and told their bosses there that there's a title there. HarperCollins kept chasing me, right? And,
Wonderful.
they came chasing me to their interest in my book. So I went and did the presentation to the commissioning editors, and at the time, as I said, I had a blimp, or airship with hood airsails. I've got it all there.
Yeah.
But this was I had a 25 by 4 foot banner. This is here, the hood airsails banner. 20.
Wow.
That's Rowena.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's lovely.
And then what they did was the balance copies. They asked me to stop selling the original title.
Yeah.
And they bought the rights, and then they bought out the Mark II version.
Oh, okay.
This is
yeah.
That's the HarperCollins edition. So they pulped the. They didn't want. I've only got a few of these left, and now I'm selling it at 50 pounds a copy because of the antique value.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As you can see here,
Yeah.
25 by 4 foot banner. I've still got them.
Very good.
And let me also tell you, some of the things I've done are, I'm even puzzled how I did it. I've got a multi-millionaire friend of mine. I'm not the type of guy who drives around in flashy cars and all that, even though I've had access to Rolls Royces and all. Once HarperCollins bought the rights, they asked me to pulp my initial order was for 2,000 copies. They asked me to pulp the rest. I kept a few for myself.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And then they bought out the Mark II version. That went on to sell. But I had already sold this personally into Waterstones, into books, etc., into W.H. Smith's. I did it all myself.
Yeah.
So the whole...
You did it all yourself by approaching them direct.
Everything was direct.
Did you always use the sort of promotional staff and T-shirts and go in and use that same approach as you did, or did it change at all? Was that that was your sort of
once they took it over,
success?
They bought in one of the topmost PR consultants.
Right.
And this is the presentation manual that they bought out.
How long did that go on for?
Up and down. I was going from Land's End to John O'Groats. I was in Scotland, and I've been interviewed on this sort of stuff they did. Yeah, this is their own presentation manual.
Oh, wonderful!
You see, major media. This is all what they did.
So how long did this go on for? Were you travelling around the UK doing interviews, promoting your book for 6 months, a year, 2 years?
For about, it was roughly about over a year.
For about a
Yeah,
year.
so I was just taking easy. I was doing other things, you know.
So what would you say were your major drawbacks, your pitfalls? What, if you were to give me some advice today?
Yeah, the advice to you is you have to decide whether you're writing this for vanity reasons, in the sense that I've written a book, right?
Yeah.
Look at me, I've written a book. Millions of people write books. How many of them make it to the top? Only the cream rises to the top. In the music business, how many people produce music? How many? Yeah. So the promotion is the important part of it.
Yeah.
Right? The marketing, the promotions, right? And I happen to be that way orientated, right?
Yeah.
Now I want to tell you a very important part of this promotion story. As I said, I've got a friend of mine who's a multimillionaire. He comes in a luxury car. I go in a very, normal car, right? I'm not, even though I have access to luxury cars and things, right? I always like to play low key, right? So he was having a go at me. He came to pick me up. He was a top director of a company, to show how that he's a success in his life, and that he wanted me to be like, have a luxury car, and so I'm
To
in
be
my
like him.
Yeah. So he came in a very smart car. He asked me to drive, right? So now what did I do? So he's now having a go at me. So I'm shutting up and shutting my mouth, and
You were in the car together?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's driving in his luxury car.
Okay,
And he's
yeah.
saying, what are you doing with your life? You should be doing having a luxury car and moving into multi-million pound house and all this sort of stuff. So I'm absorbing all this stuff that he was hammering at me. So I'm coming down now North Circular Road, right, and I'm approaching Hanger Lane, gyratory system,
Yeah.
where the A40
Yeah.
cuts, and then I tell him, just before I come to, there's a place called Cafe Janet. I said, look to the right. My 25-foot by 4-foot banner was, I said, look to the left. There's the off license. I got the other banner. 2 banners on either side of the road. People are bang. They thought, and when I got it put up there, I got a roofing company to put like balaclavas, like the SS.
Oh, for goodness sake, that's fantastic.
They were having,
That must have
people
got
were
so
tooting,
much attention.
this is what I did,
Wow.
right? And then an airship was flying a little bit further down. So they didn't know what the hell, whether SS or
Oh, wow.
or my SS.
So what was his reaction then when he'd looked to the left and right and saw...
He didn't know, he just shut his mouth.
Oh, wonderful.
Right.
So you got the last laugh.
Always.
Good.
You don't need to be thinking on your feet,
Yeah.
doing good, but not taking bull. Whatever I do is honest. I don't want to paint a picture that I'm a cut above the rest, right?
Yeah.
I'm just an ordinary guy, but I do have an extraordinary track record, right? Even when my cameraman first came in, he's a very smart guy, works for TV, right? Came and asked me. He said, when he's now working with me for quite some time,
Yeah.
he came and asked me, what have you done? Did you go to university? Yeah. When I did my first episode with him. I said, you will know who I am as time goes on. So there's no need to show. I only pull out the golden nuggets when it is necessary. Otherwise, just live and let live.
Keep
Live
us all
and let
guessing.
live. Yeah. So my advice to you is,
Yeah.
now I've told you all the pitfalls.
Yeah.
Pitfalls is you got to be motivated to sit down and write.
Yeah.
Right? Run your businesses, and so finding the time to write. Then you got to know what to write. Yeah. You got to always have the reader in mind, the person who reads it, and how they're going to respond to your story.
Did you, in your book, did you use your own personal life experiences?
It is as I went along.
Yeah.
I was documenting things as I was going,
Yeah.
and then writing about it by hand. And then my good wife inputted it. We bought a computer, right? The Amstrad
Wow.
floppy disk, and day in and day out, you know, with children, etc. I was doing other things, you know, but at the same time writing.
Because you had to fund the book yourself, didn't you?
Everything funded by myself. 100,000 quid. Just if you put my time.
That's how much it cost.
Of course, 12 years.
My goodness, I wonder how much that would equate to now.
Yeah. That's why I only few of these left, right?
And they're available to buy the original Who Dare Sells.
Through me only.
Yeah.
Everything
okay.
is.
The other question I have, I suppose you've given me some great information today that I'm going to take away, so thank you, and try and make my decision of whether I'm going to write my own book or not. It certainly
Write and see.
Well, it's certainly been an exciting adventure for you, if nothing else. Would you say, in conclusion, was it worth it for you? Was it worth it for you, for your family?
It's worth it only in one sense, that I bridged the gap, that I balanced equation for the sake of my family, that I have done what I could in my idiosyncratic style
Yeah.
to achieve a degree of excellence second to none and better than most. That's all I can say. Right? Second to none. I can handle anyone at any level, anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? That supreme confidence comes from the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, seen. I've made mistakes.
It's the
But-
best way to learn.
Yeah. I learned from making
Yeah.
mistakes. You don't repeat the same mistake.
Yeah.
You learn that if things can go wrong, they will go wrong. But you must know how to extricate yourself from a bad situation. That's what it's all about. It's a management job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that. Are there any other questions you'd like to ask me?
Well, I think we've discussed the reasons why you wrote the book, which is interesting. How you wrote the book, how you sold the book, how you came up with the title. I was particularly interested to know how you sold the book, because, you know, 20 something years ago, that must have been...
£20 was expensive at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, as I said earlier, I'm just thinking about...
And the reviews which I've got, I mean...
Yeah, they're fantastic. That's one of the reasons why I contacted you, because I've obviously read your book, loved it, and seen your wonderful reviews that you've got on the book. You've obviously...
If you go through some of them, I mean, some of the testimonies which I get, even...
You've obviously made a real impact on people, and how they, you know...
This is about the people business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this has got... You can go to university, right? But that's only the world of academia.
Yeah.
I mean, you also learn from people, you know, how to run with the hare and hunt with the hound. Yeah, those are skills.
And you've passed it on in your book.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I rely on this book for everything which I've done.
Yeah.
Right? I've been able to interview pilots on Concorde and
Yeah.
people who work with Concorde and on cruise ships. It's because of this. No, it's second nature to me.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about. I don't write scripts and go and relate it parrot fashion. It's in me. It's
Yeah.
it's part and parcel.
You've got a real natural ability.
That is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the motivation, the self belief, the self motivation,
Yes.
self funding, everything that you've done.
Everything has been
Yeah.
self.
To achieve it. It's fantastic.
Money was not my goal. I must make that very clear. It has never been and never will be. I was born. I had everything that I needed, right?
But that wasn't your drive.
The purpose of writing the book was to. I love my mother,
Yeah.
and it was a gift to her to show that even though I didn't follow the paternal tradition, right, that I will do something that will stand out.
I think that's a real legacy for you, and a really lovely thing to do, and obviously hugely successful. So I suppose the other question I have is, when's the next book coming out?
Well, I wrote a third book.
Okay.
But I didn't have the time to publish it. And that was all about the techniques of pitching.
Okay.
And I interviewed Tony Jordan. He was the only guy. He was the EastEnders program. He was a script writer for the EastEnders program. And before that, he was a market pitcher.
Right.
And if you go to the markets, right, they have what they call the spiel, right? And there are techniques that they use, and you will buy from them and you do not know why you bought it. Those techniques I know, right? So this is to do with modern day professional selling. You see, what I'm trying to tell you right now in this book is I've given you the psychology of winning, right? But there's a whole lot of skill sets. Now you went and climbed Kilimanjaro, correct?
Correct.
Now you can sit here and say, I want to climb Kilimanjaro, right? That's a dream.
Yeah.
But when you actually do it, it's a completely different ballgame, isn't it?
Correct.
All the when you're climbing and the pitfalls there.
Yeah.
And as you ascend up, I mean, oxygen levels get rarer, and you got to know how to. You got to be strong, the endurance and all that. So it's a similar sort of thing that I've gone through. This is second nature to me. I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
It just comes naturally. So I sleep well at night, right?
Good.
I want to help other people. What more can I do at my age, right? I'm in the twilight of my life. I want to help other people, right? And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
But to help others, you must acquire it yourself. Now, I can take it with me to the grave.
You want to share your knowledge.
I want to share it with others to help others come up in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are all part and parcel of the same human family. Yeah.
Yeah. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, Patrick, you've answered all my questions.
Yeah. I
And
sincerely hope you will give it some serious thought.
Yeah, I'm going to give it some serious thought, definitely. I'm definitely encouraged by your words today and your story, so thank you so much. I would, as I mentioned to you at the beginning, I have a dog grooming salon and a beauty salon, and I would very much like to offer you and your family the opportunity to come and visit either or both for complimentary treatment services as my way to thank you for your time. I know your time is precious, and I appreciate you've come and spent some time with me today and answered all of my questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for that offer. I would be more grateful if you can offer something to the wider audience that looks at my episodes rather than for myself. Of course, you've been very kind to offer it. Is there anything that...
Are you selling to me, Patrick
No.
Ellis?
There's nothing. I'm only requesting.
I never, ever give discount to my either of my shops because I've built up a good reputation. So I'm very fortunate to not need to give discount, thank goodness. But I have been really, really impressed with everything you've said today, and you have answered all my questions.
It's a pleasure for me, right? As I said, even in my previous episode 3, I was offered a 50% discount by the general manager of the choir in a Hawaiian restaurant.
Wow.
Right. So I passed it on to.
I tell you what, I'll do you a deal.
Yeah.
I'll offer 30%. 30% to all of your fan base.
Is that so?
From
And
now,
what have they got to do to get it?
just mention Patrick Ellis.
That's all?
That's all.
And you'll inform your staff?
I will tell my staff.
Wow!
Till the end of the year. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you in person, Patrick. Thank you so
We are
much
like
for your
coffee
time.
and cream. Together we make a perfect cup.
Perfect. All right.
Right. Thank you very much.
Go for it, you know you can do it. You can acquire what you desire.
Who dare sells, let's really learn how to sell.
Go for it, you know you can do it.
Who dare sells, we can learn how to
You
sell.
can acquire what you desire.
We'll practice, observe the secrets of a super salesman. The right mental attitude is the first thing you require. A will to win must also be desired. Sharpen your mind and act like a professional. Who dare sells, let's really learn how to sell.
Go for it, you know you can do it.
Who dare sells, we can learn how to sell.
You can acquire what you desire.
We'll practice and observe the secrets of a super salesman. When you start to win, more and more success flows in. You'll find your way of life, the future start improving. Inspire yourself and have the fighting spirit. Who dare sells, let's really learn how to sell.
Go for it, you know you can do it.
Who dare sells, we can learn how to sell.
You can acquire what you desire.
We'll practice and observe the secrets of a super salesman. Battle on and on, even when all hope is gone. Changing your ways to handle all your problems. By helping others gain, the salesman moves along. Watch for reaction and respond with affection. Doing what you should with a lot of dedication. So clinch that deal and leave without hesitation. Who dare sells, let's really learn how to sell.
Go for it, you know you can do it.
Who dare sells, we can learn how can learn.